everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by returning guest Lucas Birdsall, a strategic advisor at International Cannabis Corp, and you guessed it, we're talking about cannabis today. The top questions I hear from our audience is in regards to gold, silver, crypto, and of course cannabis stocks, and the future of cannabis, the cannabis market. So I'm always excited to dig into this subject matter, but first, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me back. Appreciate your time.
Excellent. Now, the cannabis industry appears to be exploding right now. We just saw a major deal struck between Canopy Growth, the largest cannabis company in the world, market cap wise, buying a major U.S. hemp company in light of the Farm Bill, which legalized hemp. Many are theorizing that we may be just months away from legalization in the U.S. rather than years. Every health store now has hemp shampoo, hemp conditioner, hemp soaps, and hemp oils. In fact, millennials are ditching deadly alcohol in favor of cannabis in big numbers. So how fast and how big do you think this industry is growing?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are astute observations. I think the last time I was on, we discussed potential consolidation within the cannabis and the hemp markets. I think you're seeing that become very apparent as highlighted by the transaction that you just mentioned. Hemp and hemp seed oil, they're very applicable for a variety of different verticals, whether they're topicals, cosmetics, shampoos, even foods, functional foods, as you mentioned. I think the cosmetics industry is ripe for disruption, primarily based off petrochemicals. And I think hemp seed oil is definitely a safer and a more effective replacement for that. I think the trend of consolidation is going to continue, and the hemp market in the United States of America is only going to continue to experience geometric growth.
Yeah, imagine if instead of, carbon taxes and all this kind of stuff, we replace plastics with hemp, we replace fuel with hemp, the building of a car. I mean, Ford built a completely hemp-built car back, I believe, in the 1930s or 40s, and challenged people at a World's Fair to take an axe to it, just to show how strong and durable this material is. And a lot of people are catching on. Altria Group, Molson-Coors, Constellation Brands, Coca-Cola, these are blue chip companies with obviously incredibly strong brands, yet they're divesting into cannabis. Altria, which owns Marlboro, invested in Cronos, for example. Are we going to see more and more acquisitions and mergers as the trend strengthens? And what does this mean?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that M&A activity will continue to increase. Obviously, folks are seeing that the cannabis industry is here to stay. And as we approach the next phase of normalization, some of these blue chip companies, some of these multinational companies, they need to acquire some piece of the pie. And they're going to do that through M&A, simply because they didn't have the foresight to get their foot in the door early on when the industry was in its infancy. This is a trend that's not going to slow down, in my opinion. You're going to see Johnson & Johnson make a move within the next 12 months. But yes, it's an exciting time. If you hold proprietary technology that may be of use, if you're a smaller microcap cannabis company, I'd be on the lookout for a bid.
Yeah, they'd be crazy not to get involved. I mean, this market is growing so enormously fast, and it's been stifled for so long. To see it finally pick up, I mean, it has some catching up to do, that's for sure. But just the other day on 420 here in Las Vegas, I spent about 25 minutes trying to find parking for a haircut, as there was a cannabis dispensary next door, and there were at least 200 people waiting in line stretching down the block. And that was just one dispensary out of probably more than 100 in Las Vegas. I noticed a couple as old as 80 years old waiting in line. People you would never assume used cannabis. Do you believe we've long since passed the reefer madness hysteria surrounding cannabis?
I do. And as the research development continues to extend into the different cannabinoid profiles, terpene profiles, etc., there are some very real medicinal uses for this, whether it's CBD, whether it's THC, whether it's one of the other 118 different cannabinoids. It's very exciting. I mean, you're seeing companies based out of Boston, Massachusetts, with connections into Harvard and MIT start to explore the synthetic manufacturing of these cannabinoids. And I mean, this is an industry right in its infancy. And the research and development is a very exciting part of the cannabis value chain. And I look forward to continuing to educate myself and watching out for these developments.
That's what I like to hear. And, most importantly, and you kind of mentioned it for a moment there, what are recent surveys telling us about public support for something like medical cannabis and CBD products? Because this is changing a lot of people's lives.
It absolutely is. And, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, and I'm not a statistician, but I think public opinion it continues to increase month over month, year over year. 25 years ago, there was definitely a different connotation put on the cannabis and the CBD markets. And today it's becoming commonplace again, as we go through the second phase of normalization. Cannabis is going to become a part of everyone's lives, whether it's in the cosmetics they use, whether it's what they choose to medicate themselves with, or whether it's just, everyday functions such as, hemp being a robust material, replacing plastics, etc., ropes in cars. Very exciting.
Yeah, the amount of things that you could use hemp for are absolutely enormous. Literally everything. I can't really think of many things you can't use hemp in constructing or for fuel or for, it's just so enormous. And on top of that, the cannabis market, I remember even 10 years ago, there was still a bit of a taboo about it. People would still think, oh, well, how could you possibly even think of giving a child something with cannabis in it? And now we've seen the medical results that have saved so many children, Charlotte's Web, stuff like that, where, it's not getting the children high, it's helping them with severe medical conditions, and it can treat so many things. And obviously that comes down to everyone's due diligence to look into themselves and make their own decisions on. But without a doubt, it has been accepted largely as something that can be used as medication that can far outweigh the benefits of prescription medications that get children hooked on drugs at an early age, which is a real gateway drug, if you ask me. But I know there are many big announcements regarding ICC, International Cannabis Corp, that I've seen spoken about recently on a few big news sites, and we'll go into that in a moment. But first, how early is the opportunity to become a cannabis dominator outside of the more developed North American markets, in your opinion? What's happening in Europe, for example?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm a big baseball guy. The analogy I like to use is in North America, we're kind of in the bottom of the sixth inning here. But when we look over to markets such as the European Union or Latin America, they're really in the top of the first. Europe and Latin America, as well as the Asia Pacific regions, are the true territories in which you can capture alpha within the cannabis region. ICC, International Cannabis Corp, obviously has a focus on these jurisdictions, and we look forward to being the dominant player in Europe, in Latin America, as well as the Asia Pacific region.
The company you work for, ICC International Cannabis Corp, is now considered the global leader in the cannabis sector. You have licenses in over 14 countries and are either first, the sole license, or the dominant player in many regions. Could you explain the company's strategy and priorities?
Absolutely. So over the past 12 months, we really deployed an acquisition strategy. We went into many of these favorable jurisdictions, such as Denmark, such as the Kingdom of Lesotho, such as Colombia, et cetera, and we acquired high-profile licenses, those that are coveted, whether it's product formulation, whether it's cultivation, whether it's eventual distribution. We just brought on a brand new CEO. He is a true cannabis entrepreneur, someone who has made multiple successful exits from the Canadian cannabis industry, and his appointment has really signaled our shift towards operating in some of these fantastic jurisdictions. That's bringing these licenses up to speed, beginning to realize material cash flows and revenues. It's very exciting. It's been an inflection point for us over the past month or so.
Yeah, and this is what caught my eye again on your company recently. On the 23rd of April, you announced major news closing on the acquisition of 49.9% of Wayland's international portfolio. And you've recently announced collaboration to begin marketing under some very strong brand names, along with making some very strategic investments in a few companies that are doing high-tech stuff. What is the market cap post-merger, and what's the best way to value the worth of your assets, licenses, and relationships?
Absolutely. So, post-merger, our market cap is going to exceed $500 million Canadian, and Wayland has some phenomenal European assets. They've been a thought leader in the industry for quite some time. The crown jewel of the merger is going to be the 820,000 square foot clean room cultivation facility in Dresden, Germany, that has an EU GMP certification, which is very prestigious, especially when you talk about imports to different parts of the world. And you know what? I mean, one of the most amazing things is about a week before we closed the merger, Wayland was granted one of 3 indoor medical cannabis cultivation licenses by Germany, and their peers in holding those licenses are Afria and Aurora. Now, we hold half of that license post-transaction, and it's very, very exciting. To touch on the brands, we're now equipped with a very robust and well-known house of brands, Greg Norman, Marilyn Monroe, etc. When you think about Greg Norman, I want you to think about sunscreens. I want you to think about CBD topicals and cosmetics when you think about Marilyn Monroe. And, very exciting for me, a pet project is we just made a $1.2 million US investment into BioTE. This is a company based out of Boston, Massachusetts. It's staffed with scientists and researchers from both MIT and Harvard, and they're exploring the synthetic production of cannabinoids. That's all 120 of them. It's very, very exciting. We're looking to be on the leading edge in the cannabis industry here.
Yeah, there's so much room to grow, and obviously it's a very competitive market, and I don't talk to anybody regarding different companies involved in this space unless I actually think that there is a really good opportunity going forward, and that's all in my opinion. Everyone that's watching has to do their own due diligence, and we'll go over that a bit later. But first, when will the company start reporting revenue?
Good question. So coupled with the Wayland definitive agreement is a 3-year supply agreement. So Wayland has one of the most revolutionary cannabis cultivation facilities in Canada. It's actually EU GMP certified. And ICC and Wayland have entered into a 3-year supply agreement whereby Wayland will supply at quite a low production price to ICC 30 million grams of medical cannabis for import into the EU market. Now, currently within the European Union, premium medical grade cannabis is retailing for about 9 to 10 euros per gram. So I'll let the viewers do the math there themselves. 30 million grams over 3 years, really, really healthy spreads. It's exciting, and we hope and we look to actually start to begin to realize these revenues by the 3rd quarter of this year.
So I have to ask, what gets you personally so interested in ICC?
I've been with the company for a long time. I've definitely seen the evolution, from an acquisition strategy to an operational strategy now. We're equipped with a phenomenal management team. Some of the international consultants we work with, both lawyers, politicians, subject matter experts in their respective jurisdictions. We're on the cutting edge. It's a dynamic environment, and we're really looking to capture that second wave of alpha in Europe, in Latin America, and in the Asia Pacific regions. We're on the leading edge. It's an exciting experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone has to check the links below for more information. But I got to ask you, what do you think your competitive advantages are?
I think it's simply the fact that we have the most robust, the most diverse license portfolio in the industry. We just raised $45 million. We have healthy treasury. We're going to start to integrate some of Wayland's European upstream, downstream, and distribution teams into our own fold. I'm very excited to get our 100,000 square foot greenhouse facility up and running in Denmark, start importing into that German marketplace where the patient population is experiencing exponential growth. All in all, to start to really begin to operate on some of these licenses, these first mover licenses that we've achieved, that's going to be very exciting for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are excited about this. Just my response from the average viewer is that one of the #1 things they're focusing on is cannabis and hemp over the coming years. And it's about time. We've been talking about it for so many years. And to watch that market slowly but surely start to open up, it's going to flood the gates eventually. The amount of opportunity that is on the near horizon and all of the products that you can make utilizing hemp, all the medical marvels, all the ways that people can enjoy themselves as well. You can't forget about that when you're talking about cannabis. There is so much on the near horizon. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video here, people are giving up alcohol for cannabis. That is also, from a moral and emotional level, a very important step to be taking away from these deadly addictions like alcohol, which for years we saw so much hypocrisy. The state would would push the idea of drinking and, alcohol, and we'd see it in popular culture and movies, etc. And then you'd see a movie where someone smoked cannabis and they're like falsely like hallucinating or something crazy, so exaggerated, so ridiculous. And I think people just trying cannabis for the first time throughout their life realized, hey, I'm being lied to. This is wrong. There's something wrong here. I'm being force-fed this idea of drinking. Oh, time to turn 18 or 21, wherever you are in the world. Time to start drinking. But then, people go into jail for smoking cannabis, and it's just such a huge step to be taking away from alcohol towards cannabis, and I think it's a beautiful thing. But as we close this off, Lucas, can you tell our audience where they can get involved and find more information on ICC?
Absolutely. I would encourage all our viewers to visit our corporate website at intlcannabiscorp.com. That's intlcannabiscorp.com. We're also publicly traded on the Canadian Securities Exchange. The symbol is WRLD.U. And we trade down south over the counter. The symbol is WLDCF. I encourage everyone to do their due diligence, and it's going to be a very exciting next 12 months for ICC International Cannabis Corp.
I'm very excited, and everyone can check out those links below in the comments and the description. I hope that everyone checks this out, does their own due diligence, and gets as excited as I am about this, because this is the beginning of a really great journey, in my opinion. So anyway, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube, as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.